too on earth because we have hell one day and heaven the next.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And the vicissitudes, the ups and downs, the ins and outs of life. If we taught our children that they're supposed to have struggles in life, I guarantee you that the suicide rate will plummet by 90% in 5 years.
Mm.
Just by telling the children that, in life sometime, baby, you're supposed to struggle in order to get strong. Life supposed to get hard when you get too complacent at being nothing in order to make you into something.
Yeah.
That's the only reason why you get all go into that apathetic state.
Mm-hmm.
Now remember, religion is engineered, designed as a military tool to stir up the apathetic state in all of the children. They applied through education.
Mm-hmm.
School is not a socio-political word. It's a religious word from a specific religion.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But then using linguistics, they manipulate it a little bit and you don't know where it came from, so you don't know what you're doing. That's that go along to get along obedience to authority mentality.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They did a whole study on people's obedience to authority. Right? And they did one called the Zimbardo's prison study. Right? Zimbardo took regular people, regular Joes, and divided them up. Half of y'all inmates, half of y'all prisoners. Y'all can leave this program anytime y'all get ready to. All you have to do is ask. Then they played out a scenario. They did this in Arizona, in a university in Arizona. And they play out the scenario. The cops, the ones they appointed as the correction officers, became aggressive and abusive to the inmates. The inmates became slick, conniving, trying to run scams on people, all this stuff. In a 6-month prison study, it amazed them at how quick the inmates became inmates and the guards became predatory prison guards.
Mm. Damn. Do you think, I was talking to you about psychic powers and abilities, and one of the things people say is that people in what they call third world countries, they're able to tap in to these supernatural abilities more because they're not, they don't have all the lights in the city and the distraction around them. Do you feel as though when you were in prison, were you able to tap more into certain abilities because you didn't think about rent, think about a goddamn avocado that costs $3 if it's organic? Was your ability to tap into these latent things that they talk about, it wasn't more prevalent and when you were locked up, Rod?
That's what you're talking about is sensory deprivation that allows you to tap into other senses. The time that I did locked up, when you locked up, you have worries just like people in the street, but you got a different set of worries.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What comes with the new environment comes a new set of responsibilities. And certain stuff, like instead of worrying about how I'm going to pay my rent or my light or my gas, I'm wondering how am I going to make commissary? How am I going to get my next set of books in? How am I going to make sure I can pay for my hygiene stuff? So the struggle is still the same in the penitentiary as it is in the street. We still have distractions. You got the dude stabbing the other dude, the guy having to fight with the police. You got the guy over there trying to have a relationship with the other guy. All this stuff is still going on around you. It's just in another world. It's in another structure of reality that still have to give you something to keep your mind focused on and to restrict you from being able to tap into more consciousness. But the thing is it's not necessarily third world countries, because if you go down to people that live in the rural countryside, we be sitting on the porch, they'll hear something way out in the field, and you be like, what are you talking about? Until you see that this big old buck deer run out, and he's like, I knew it was one out there, I tried to tell you.
Mm.
right? Because they became acclimated to the environment, and the things that they mind focus on is more localized to their environment. It's the same whether you're in prison, whether you're in the projects, or whether you're in the penthouse. Your local environment is what's going to absorb most of what you consciously focus on a day-to-day basis. You will always have some kind of concern about the local environment around you because that's your area of control. So the circumstances might change, but what draws the attention of the mind is what matters. When you're more out into nature, more stuff nature related um sink to your mind. That's why Dr. Doolittle could talk with animals. He lived on a ranch.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, man. That's some serious stuff. What do you think about, like, in terms, Rod, of well, let me ask you this before I ask you that. Is it gonna get, we talk about so many things and our DNA waking back up and coming online. Are people going to start to live longer, Rod? Like, is this thing where people live to be 110? Is that going to increase? Are we going to see people live to 300, 400? What do you see in the next 100 years in terms of the belief system we have called aging? Is that going to change drastically?
The field of gerontology deals with the science of getting old.
Mm.
And back in the 90s is when I first encountered the work of a grad student at the time named Dr. Cynthia Kenyon.
Yeah.
She was working on extending human life way back then, and I think she went on to win a Nobel Peace Prize for her research in aging. Now they are releasing technology that's known to be capable of regenerating your body. The body is just the avatar. You can have more than one if you know how to jump from one to the next, right? And the avatar is programmed, and the program is on the chip, and the chip is called DNA. The chip is powered by mitochondria. So when you're looking at the ability to move in, you got to go to telomere science. Because when you go back to ancient Sumer, it tells you why man don't live for 100 over 100 and some years, because the scientists altered the genome, which goes back to what we was reading here earlier about the gods having the ability to give the light to lesser beings,
Mm.
right? This is what they're talking about. But the light can be activated. What they coming up with is all this stuff is old Atlantean technology rediscovered. The From the cryogenics where they froze Big Tookie and then kept him in Area 51 to the Bajinga tribe who telepathically told the scientists how to thaw him out, and been working with scientists in Antarctica since the 50s, and they still look the same.
Mm.
But they're a different genetic stock of human.
Mm.
But they look like they straight out of the jungle of Africa. And
Right.
then they tried to tell us this fairy tale that they captured some Africans and turned them loose in Antarctica, and they just became nomadic giants on the land, knowing everything to do. No, them people down there was the ones they thawed out of the ice that had been froze for thousands of years. The Shinga tribe. That's what they called them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's some serious stuff. That when you first told me about Tukey and they froze him. At first, I was like, "Yo, Rod is bugging. What is he?" But now I'm like, "Nah, that makes I can see them doing that."
Big Tookie was what you call Mr. Untouchable. You was never supposed to execute him because he was one of the chiefs that was supposed to negotiate the close of the contract. It was three main chiefs appointed. It was 44 Blue, which is Big Tookie, 44 Red, which is Chief Malik Angel Bay, Jeff Ford, and then it was the Big Six, which stands in the middle as the chairman of the board, Larry Hoover. Like Hoover's original job from birth was always to collect the information from Angel Bay and Big Tookie and give a report to the people on the land about the invasion and the war effort. He can't do his job when the government attack him, take him off the board. None of them.
Mm,
That's where the COINTELPRO whole mission statement begins to rest in the mind of the victims of the COINTELPRO operations and tell them what the government was doing to ever keep us from reclaiming our birthright. But if one chief can figure out who we at war with, they look like us, but they ain't us. They Negropeans. That changes the whole dynamic, and now that gives us back what we call jurisdictional control of the land or jurisdictional sovereignty. Now we have to go through this whole governmental transitional process to transfer from the corporate to the republic back to the tribes. Now we pretty much got rid of the whole corporate government. Now the republic got to restore the tribes. The restored republic is what it's called.
mm, mm. Yeah. So I got a show tomorrow, Rod. I want you to tune into it, man. It's gonna be a good one. I ain't gonna say who's gonna be on, but it's gonna be a good one. It's gonna be on some, it's gonna be real good. You know what I'm saying? The brother that's gonna be on it, he told me he just talked to you today or yesterday. He was like, y'all talked for like 2 hours.
Oh yeah. I know you're talking
So,
about.
we're gonna have a real good show tomorrow. So make sure you tune in. One thing I want to ask you, Rod, in terms of communicating with your higher self where it feels natural. And when something feels natural, we vibrate differently, and the universe is listening to us. And when we're speaking to it with authenticity, it responds to us, and we're able to manifest things and collapse waves and all that. One thing I noticed, Rod, is that we talk to different people differently. So, like, if your lady walk by you, your voice may change. You may say, "Hey, baby, what's going on, baby? What you doing? What are you doing?" If your child, your son or daughter, your voice may change. Like, and when I call you, be like, "Hey, what's up, brother Rich?" You be like, "What's up, brother Rich?" Is there a certain our voice for a reason? It's an instrument. Is there a certain way we should talk to a higher self so that it can understand us? Because it seems as though people talk to their higher self in a very monotone, dead. Yes, I would like this. I'm trying to understand that. And maybe we're supposed to change our voice for our higher self like we do with everybody else in this realm. So how would you advise communication with your higher self, Rod?
You know, the communication with the higher self is what you call higher thought.
Mm-hmm.
It all takes place in the mind.
So
Once you
you don't like speak words to your higher self. You don't.
you can use words or you can use images,
Mm-hmm.
right? The clearer you can see what you want your higher self to provide,
Mm-hmm.
the clearer your higher self creates circumstances to get you where you're trying to be,
Mm-hmm.
right? So this is what they call holding the thought.
Mm-hmm.
Your higher self will go get any information you tell it to,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to know yourself well enough that when it come back with the answer, that one, how do I know where do I need to look so I could tell somebody else so they don't know that my higher self gave it to me, I can give them a reference,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you start off with a question to your higher self. You talk to your higher self like you want somebody to talk to you,
Mm-hmm.
period. Your higher self is not going to respond to your disrespecting of the self.
Mm-hmm.
And you will see it play out in the environment around you because of your self-respect is not sufficiently intact. You will be disrespected everywhere you go because you won't carry yourself in a respectable manner, and it'll always have you at odds with other people, especially people that got self-respect. You're going to irritate their goodness with your lack of control. You ever seen Caesar Milan? The dog whisperer. You ever seen him training dogs?
Yeah.
And sometimes he go to people's house and they swear up and down that this dog keep attacking that dog, right?
Mm-hmm.
Caesar sit there and watch for a minute. He said, no, he's not attacking that dog. He's defending himself from that dog because he's sending him messages without saying a word. But y'all don't know the language of the dog, so you think it's the one that's making the move that's initiating the fight. He's not. He's defending himself. But if you knew dogs, you would know that, right? It's the same thing if you understand how you process information, right? If you understand how you perceive the world around you, you say, okay, so when I see stuff in this way, this is my perception, right? But then you realize that other people has influenced you during your life. So when you got a like or a dislike, where did I get it from?
Right.
Is
right.
am I naturally scared of heights, or did it just tell me that? Let me climb up something high and find out. Right? Because I don't know if I'm scared of heights or not. They might have just told me I was scared of heights. This part of shadow work, because you're addressing something that somebody else said about you that you accepted to be true without ever determining if that's how you really feel. So the more authentic you is talking to yourself, the faster your answers come back, the clearer they are. And if you need a reference, they'll do just like Chat GPT. It might not pull the reference book up in your mind and say, hey, go get the book of Yahweh. It might not do that, but it might create circumstances. You scrolling online and you run across a book that's answering the question in the comments about the book.
Happens all the time to people. Yep.
Right? Because your higher self have to provide what you require of it to do. Then you got to remember something called a turnaround time. Turnaround time is like, how long do it take the genie to provide what you asked for with your 3 wishes? Some stuff is instant. Those are small things. But if you want to change the world, how long will it take? Compared to if I just wanted to get a car. The car is a faster turnaround time than changing the world. So you might get a car in 2 weeks, but it might take you 20 years to change the world. Because one, you have to develop yourself into a qualified world changer to change the world.
Right.
You're not going to develop yourself into a qualified world changer without studying the problems of the world. Right? And you always start to the local and expand to the international, to the galactic. You start close and you move out. That means you use yourself as first person perspective. But don't neglect to say what do it look like from the second and third person perspective. Because now you triangulating with your mind how to get to the destination. Like activating your inner clock to get to whatever the manifesting energy is, the turnaround time on that energy. So the bigger the thing you ask for, especially when you're doing it by yourself, it's faster if you got half the world wanting the world to change and they all studying changing the world at the same time. It's not going to happen that way because it's not that many people that is not so caught up in the humdrum of their day-to-day life that they can even give a fuck about if the world change or not. Most people don't care. As long as they can eat, they got clothes on their back, food on their table, and a place to sleep. They don't care if the world ever changed at that point because their creature comforts is met. The people that want the world to change is tired of seeing people sleeping in sleeping bags at the bus stop. That's annoying because nobody's not supposed to be without a place to rest their head. Or seeing so many people at the soup counter that you can't even feed them all. The people that seeing this and it's irritating their spirit is the ones who are going to try to figure out solutions to the problem, not the person that's living the day-to-day life. Because like I said earlier, your mind is only to the local things around you. It's primarily consumed because 90% of what you see is what's right around you. Right? So that's where your influence comes from. Right? You ever wonder why Brooklyn guys don't act like guys from the Bronx and they both from New York?
Right.
Long Island guys don't act like guys from Harlem and they both from New York? And don't none of them act like the other one, and all of them from New York.
Crazy.
But when they leave New York, They all got a certain swag when we talk to them and we say, oh, he must be from New York.
Yeah, yeah. That's facts. That's facts.
Right? But when the New Yorkers see him in LA, he was like, oh, he from Yonkers, he from Harlem, he from, he know where he's from. When he talked to him, as soon as he talked to him, yeah, he from his lingo, the way he dressed, the way he carry himself, his swag. I tell another New Yorker exactly what part of New York that swag from.
Right, right.
You even can narrow it down to whether he from the Queensbridge projects or the Marcy projects. If you from New York, you know the guy that well, just from being there. No study, no investigation, just what you pick up living your life. Then you know when it's a stranger that came to New York and been living there for a while, so he kind of got a little bit of New York swag, but he ain't from New York. He must have been living here a while. You automatically know, especially when you're from a geography. But your mind is always consumed with what's closest to you before it expands out. That's why you deal with problems that affect you first. Because if you don't deal with first person problems, how you gonna solve second and third person problems? And nobody want to solve their own problems. That's why they want to cry about it all the time.
Mm. I want to talk a little bit about geographical, since you talk about the geography, people being from certain places, geographical light codes. There's light codes that hit certain areas that causes people to have a certain personality, like Harlem, for example, that you used, or Chicago, or LA, or whatever. With the invention of the internet and social media, we don't have people from these geographical locations that stand out. It's like everything is merging. Everybody's dressing the same. Everybody's looking the same. Everybody's acting the same because people live on the internet more than they live in their geographical locations. So how do you feel about the internet taking away the light code that people used to naturally get from their geographical location? And now everybody's light codes is coming from that blue light in the computer. How does that affect the behavior of somebody from a certain region?
Reconstruction of the Tower of Babel.
What you mean by that, my brother?
What happened with the Tower of Babel? Why did they destroy it? What happened when they destroyed it? See, the Tower of Babel, they say, was built to reach the heavens, to become like the gods. Mm-hmm. We're going to go to their house and we're going to knock on these suckers' door.
Right.
And that's some tribal shit right there. Right, because the tribes is the ones that'll walk up to you and be like, hey, man, what you talking about? But the invaders are the ones that's going to try to sneak you.
Right.
Right? So when you're looking at that, it's part of the melting pot phenomenon. The internet was first